Hello YouTube world, this is Monica. My name is Monica Liana and I talk about books while doing my makeup. Let's talk about some books. I have strong opinions on the last, I think 12 books that I've consumed within the last 2 weeks. And instead of waiting until the end of the month to talk about them, I want to talk about them now. Also, I need to slightly go away from the show The One, because if you know, John Marr's The One is one of my favorite books ever, and they're basically not representing it in the right way, and I'm just so mad. Like, I'm going to enjoy the show for the rest of the season, but it's just like, you had a great show. Why are we destroying it? I don't understand when movie publishers or whatever does this to books. It's like, there's a reason that these books are popular, yet you're destroying it. Why? I don't understand. I mean, I'm just a consumer, but I'm just saying, The One is like one of my favorite books ever, and yet you're destroying it right now. It's so disappointing. But anyways, so The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. I did a whole video on this, and this book had the right premises. Like, this woman, her husband made a basically clone of her. And the reason he made a clone is, like, I'm assuming he loved her, but like wanted a more docile wife. She is now the docile wife. She kills him, and this is not a spoiler, it's in the synopsis. She kills him, and they decide to make a clone of him. And like I said, I have a video of this to go into more details. But like, the reason that this book, I put it as a 2, is because nothing happens. Like, you think, clone of yourself. You're like, yo, this is about to get steamy. This is about to be like, this clone is gonna kill me, kill my unborn child, kill my husband, which she technically did, but she did it as self-defense. And none of that happens. And it's just such a letdown, because I love this book in the synopsis so much that I was like, yo, I'm gonna take a chance. I don't know who this author is, but I'm gonna take a chance because I love the synopsis. Nothing happens. And it's such a sad disappointment, because it's just like, I kept waiting and waiting, and nothing happens. Like, seriously, if you have not yet read this book, don't waste your time, because whoever considers a 5 read, I feel like they're lying, because it's not a 5 read. This is a 2. The only reason it's even a 2 is because I was interested the whole time until the very end, and then I found out, oh, so the clone is not gonna do anything. And it's like, nah, she ain't gonna do nothing. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Deuces. Next. The next is the X by Rachel Solomon. This is a romance rom-com, and I don't do rom-coms all that often. Like, I love suspense, mystery, horror type of genres, but every now and then I feel the need to do rom-coms, because it's like, anybody that does rom-coms or does horror also often, I guarantee you every now and then they're like, yo, I need to cleanse my soul from all this treachery and do something lighthearted. And that's what this book is. It's like, okay, it's cute, it's not even a podcast, it's a radio. So I did a 3, and there's a reason for this. The radio part was absolutely fascinating. I love the radio part. I love the radio thing, but I found it slightly weird in the sense of, like, the main female protagonist Her inner dialogue was slightly cheesy. Like, she was constantly talking about some, like, pushing them against the wall and everything. And I was like, I have no problem with eroticas, but, like, something about her inner dialogue was like, woman, I'm grossed out because you not. Like, I don't need to hear about this. And it was constant. It was just, I don't know, something about her in general. I just felt the cheese. And, like, granted, I know rom-coms are slightly cheesy. I get that. But, like, for some reason, I just couldn't stand her. And then, like, him, the main, like, protagonist, for some reason, I didn't like them as a romantic couple. I like the radio aspect of them. I love the radio aspect. But, like, the actual, like, rom-com was just like, I couldn't have cared less about their, like, dynamic. That, yeah, I just feel like it's a 3. Yeah, 3. And I don't feel like it's bad. It's just one of those things that's like, I wasn't shipping them, is what I guess the kids are calling it this stage. I'm just like, I wasn't shipping them. The next one is Those Girls by Chevy Stevens. This one was pretty dark. I give this one a 3, but it was pretty dark at the same time. So these girls, their alcoholic dad, like, so their mother died. Their alcoholic dad kind of comes in and out of their life. Like, they're kids, but they're slightly, they live on by themselves, and their dad, like, works to, like, provide for the family. Well, whenever their dad is around, it's like hostile. Well, the dad starts to beat one of the child, and the other child, because there's 3 sisters, 3, not 4, 3. She kills him. She kills him out of necessity, really. But she, they kill him. And even though it's self-defense, because, like, the dad literally goes off on one child and basically almost kills her, like, my bad, like, straight up throws her head in a toilet to, like, suffocate her. And so she kills him. But they're all scared to go into foster care, because they've been in foster care once, like, when their mother died and dad was slightly, like I said, couldn't take care of them. They went into foster care, and they were like, yo, we don't want to go on foster care again. We need to go on the run. Well, while they're on the run, they meet these guys that, like, technically were saying they were going to help them, blah, blah, blah. They don't. They rape them and basically keep them captives. And they get away. Amazingly, they get away. And this is from years later. They're basically adults and everything like that. And, like, one of the sisters can't get over it. Like, even though it's been years, they can't get over it, and she goes to do revenge. And this book was good, but it also was just kind of like, I don't know, like, whatever. Like, I don't know, you know how, like, certain books, it's like, they're good. There's no reason that they're bad. They're good. It's just like, you just know that you probably won't think about it afterwards. That's how I felt about this book. It's like, I feel like it was good. It's very impactful. It's very dark, but it's just like, I will probably never think of this again. And that's the only reason I'm considering it as a 3. So the next book is Church of Lies by Flora Jessup. This is a memoir. No, that's not what it is. Memoir. Lord, I can't speak. I'm so sorry. But memoir. And this is another cult memoir, because I love these. And this one was slightly different because, so the last memoirs I have consumed were about girls that were, like, in the cult, and they didn't get out of the cult until, like, way later, until either the cult was revealed and then they kind of had to, or for whatever reason, she at, like, age 8 knew she didn't want to be in this cult. Like, she knew it was a cult, not in those words, but she knew. She was like, I don't want to be in this. She was basically the rebel from like day one. And she tried to kill herself. Like, her dad was abusing her, like sexually abusing her. She knew it was wrong, and she just, like, she wanted to be gone. Like, she straight up had a vision. She tried to kill herself, and she had a vision of this Native American like saving her life. And she doesn't know, to this day she's like, I don't know if it was real, if it wasn't real, but like, she ended up surviving this vision. And at, I think, like age 17, she was forced to marry her first cousin. And once that happened, like, her first cousin, like, they like moved to Vegas because I guess he worked there, but like, he didn't like make her stay around, so she like left. And from then she just became kind of a actual person like in society. And she just learned, like, this is not the world I want to live in. And she decided to, she had a really interesting life. She became a stripper at one point. Like, she was a stripper, she was moving around, she was doing drugs, and she ended up like, you know, fixing her life. But like, she got to a point where she started being like, I want to save all the, because like, one of her sisters called her because she was about to get married to like, I think, an older dude, which is what they do. And she was like, I'm gonna get this person out of here. And it took her a while for her to save her sister and her mother and everybody in her family, but like, while she was waiting to basically save them, she was saving like other females and males, because like, you know, there's also males. I know they don't talk about males all that much, but like, there are males that like get abused in the system that, like, you know, didn't get told not to talk about it because, you know, God and everything like that. But it was just such a it was an interesting situation, just because it's like, you don't really see, like I said, all the books that I consumed were like of them staying in it. She didn't stay in it. She basically fought on the outside, and it was just like, I don't know, it was very interesting. The next book is The Cabin at the End of the Woods by Polly Tremblay. I did not like this book. I straight up almost DNF'd it. Like, I skipped around, and it's not even the end. Like, everybody's talking about like, oh, the end was so bad, or you like the end. I don't really care about the end, and the ending was fine. Like, I feel like, even though it didn't spell it out to me, I feel like the ending, in a way, explained what was going on. My problem was just, I didn't care. Like, I didn't care about these characters, which made me then not care about what the hell is going on. Like, it's about these two gay couples that have a daughter that they adopted, that like, these strangers come up saying like, hey, we have a vision that the world is gonna end, and if you don't sacrifice yourself or your child, like, you have to sacrifice somebody, and you don't do it, these things are gonna keep happening that are going to kill the world. So you need to do it, and you have to do it on your own record. I didn't care for the book, and I just didn't care for it. Like, it was like, okay. And they start questioning each other. They start questioning the leader. Like, I guess it's kind of gruesome, but it's just, I don't know. I just didn't care for this book. And it's not because of the ending. Everybody's like, oh, some people don't like it because of the ending, because it's somewhat ambiguous. I'm like, I don't find it ambiguous. It's like, they go off to the sunset. Spoiler alert. They go off to the sunset. I feel like I know what the ending is going to be. That's not why I liked it. Didn't like it. It's called, I didn't like it because I didn't like it. Because I didn't care for anybody. I didn't care if they died. So, yeah. Didn't like this book. And everybody recommends this book. And it's like, nah, you wrong. Next one is The Babysitter by Lisa Godman. I feel so bad because I have such strong feelings about this book. So this book is technically a true crime book. Like, it's the real story. It's just put in a way. So it's a real story, but it's like made to be fiction. Like, that's how they make it out to be. And I didn't like this book whatsoever. Like, this book was a 1 for me. And the only reason it was a 1 is because even though this is true crime that's made to be fiction, you would think it would be about the true crime. It is. So they get, okay. So there's the girl that like apparently knew him as a kid, and that like this was like her babysitter. Like, the mom says the maintenance man, but it's like her babysitter. Well, the reason that I didn't like this is because the girl that we follow, she talks about her mom's abuse the whole damn time. Like, that's what the story is about. It's like, look, if you wanted to do a memoir of your mother's abuse, that's fine. But you're trying to do a true crime book about this babysitter that used to kill people. That's what you should be focusing on. No. You were around this dude a handful of times, yet you're constantly talking about your mother's abuse, your mother's abuse. I was so confused. I was like, is this about you? Or is this about the serial killer? I'm just saying. We were constantly talking about your mother's abuse, which is fine. I get it. People deal with abuse, but like the fact that you made it seem like we're gonna follow this man that was your babysitter, and yet you're talking about your mother's abuse the whole entire time. I was so frustrated because I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick, I'm not trying to be mean, but this is not what I signed up for. You said serial killer, yet we're following your mother's abuse. You can see why I'm frustrated. Like, I felt like this was a waste of my goddamn time because you falsely advertise what this book is about. So, yeah. Anyways, The Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book of like a good girl's guide to murder. So this one I freaking loved. It was good. It was a 4. I wouldn't say it's as good as the first one. You know, give it, take it. But it was good. It was like right after the first book. It like literally joined into it. It went to the case of the first book. But there was also a second case that she didn't want to take it, but she ended up taking it because she was like, oh, I cannot not take it because one of her friends' brother goes like missing. So they're like, yo, we gotta find him. And she ends up taking the case. And it was really good. Like I said, I wouldn't say as good as the first one, but it's like, if you like the first one, for sure the second one would be up your alley. Like, I truly loved it. So, The Marriage Pact by Michelle Richmond. This was also good. I gave this one a 3. Like, I would have gave it like a little bit more, but it's like 3 I think is possible. So this one is like, so these couple get married and they get invited into this pact, and this pact is like to better your relationship. And so they do it. They're like, okay, you know, whatever can make us stay together. But this pact is like super strict. Like, you have to have like presents every month. You got to do trips. You got to do this. You got to do that. And if you don't, then it's like you basically go to this slight prison and have to fight your case. And if you don't win, you have to go through like punishments and stuff like that. Like, at one point his wife gets a fucking collar that she can't take off, and so they take it off for her. the husband gets electrocuted. Like, it's one of those things that's like, the whole premise is like, yo, we're trying to keep relationships together, but you're also doing it in fear. So it's like, yes, you're trying to keep relationships together, but you're also, how do you know if these relationships would stay together when you're basically manipulating them into what you want? So it's a whole thing of like, well, is it better? Is it not better? And it's just, I don't know. It was a really good book, and it was just like slightly scary because it's like, man, imagine if you didn't do what they said and then you kind of got locked up and you didn't know when you were going to get like released, and like, who are you going to call? Like, you can call the police, but what are you going to say to them? Like, that was pretty, like, it was actually anxiety producing in the sense of like, yo, like, I don't know what I would feel in this position. It's just like, what are you gonna do? Like, and they're all like high rollers, so it's like, oh, if you don't play ball, maybe you won't get that promotion that you were waiting for. And it's just like a shitty situation of like, they're fucking with me. Like, yeah, I don't really care for that. So that one, it was good, but like, I didn't really care for the ending. Act Your Age, Eva Brown by Taylor Herbert. Now this one, this was a 5. I freaking love this book. And so out of all, so there's 3 Brown books. Even though I liked the first 2, I wasn't in love with them. Like, they were cute. I was for sure going to pick up this book because yes, I liked them, but like, they weren't my favorite. Let me tell you, this one is my favorite. 100%. I love this one. If I had to rank them, it would be the 3rd, 1st, and 2nd. Even though everybody loves the 2nd one, I didn't really care for the 2nd one. But like, I freaking loved this one. It was so damn cute. So this one is a hate to love situation. She gets cut off because like I guess her family's technically rich, and she has an inheritance that her family cuts her off from because she's kind of like, I guess, somewhat of a spoiled brat, but like, wouldn't necessarily call her a spoiled brat. She's just like, she doesn't know where she's going, and her family's like, yo, I'm gonna need you to follow something. You need to find a career. You need to do something because you keep flaking out of everything. So they make her like get a real job, and they're like, yeah, if you can hold it down for a year, you can get your inheritance back. But until then, don't call me. Don't do anything. You need to get a job. So she gets a job with this Airbnb, which the guy was reluctant to hire her, but the only reason she got technically hired is because she, after the interview, ran him over. And she ends up feeling bad, and she's like, yo, like, I'll do it, you know, like, let me make sure that like you guys are safe. And like, because the guy is like delusional, he's in pain pills, and the friend basically hires her like, yo, he's out, we gotta hire you, you're gonna have to deal with it. And they don't really like each other. Like, they're very much snarky to each other, and then slowly they're like kind of like each other and stuff like that. And it's so damn cute. And their conflict at the end, because there's always a conflict, like they don't like each other, but then they like each other, and then there's like a conflict, and then they like each other, and the conflict made sense. It was kind of like, okay, yes, there's a conflict, but it makes sense where there's a slight conflict. And I'm telling you, I love this book. This book was so damn cute. And like, Ava was such a snarky little bitch, and it was just like, oh, I like this. It's like, you sound like me. So yes, this one is 100% a 5. The next book is Spoiler Alert by Olivia Jade. Or Dade. Jade or Dade. Anyways, this is another 5. I fucking love this book. So this one is like This one had to do with fan fiction, and I am not into fan fiction. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this fan fiction in general is just not my thing. I don't think I ever read it. But like, so basically the main male character, he is a actor on this show. Well, he read the books of this show and like basically didn't agree with like what the writers were doing. So he kind of did fan fiction to help him with this. And the female did the same thing. She kind of did fan fiction. So like they technically met during fan fiction, but they don't know it. Well, she's fat. Don't get mad at me. That's literally what she calls herself. She's fat. And she does like a picture of like what she's gonna wear for this, I guess, cosplay, and like it goes viral, and like people are like, oh, she's too fat to ever wear this costume and blah blah blah. Well, the main guy sees it and like asks this girl on a date because he's just like, I don't give a fuck about what she wears. Like, he likes her he's very attracted to her. And they go on a date, and when they go on a date, he ends up realizing like, oh shit, this is the girl that I've been talking to for like years. Like, what the fuck? But like, she doesn't know it. So then they end up like going on multiple dates, and he ends up not telling her that he knows her because he's scared, because the reason he doesn't want to tell her is because I guess if the producers knew that he was doing this like side fan fiction, he could technically have a legal situation. So like he's like, yo, I'm not gonna tell her because like I don't know, but you know, I don't want to get like sued. And yeah, it's, I don't know. Like, I don't want, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything, but like, it's so damn cute. I'm telling you, I am not a big rom-com type of person, but like this book was so damn cute. I loved it. I was like so into it. And even though I didn't care for the like fan fiction parts, because there was a certain section that had fan fiction, it was still absolutely adorable. Lakewood by Megan Jiggins, whatever. This book was a 3. I like this book because, okay, so this book was a girl got offered a position to basically be a lab rat, and she would have to move to a place called Lakewood to do these testings, and it was absolutely fucked up. So she would do these testings, and like she'd be on the floor in pain, and people wouldn't do anything for her. They would just literally just like watch her and just like write stuff while she's like hurling in pain, saying practically a racist shit to her. Like literally the part that I remember was like, so she had to change her eye color for whatever reason. I forgot what it was, but she had to change the eye color, and she was like, she asked one of the observers, she was like, hey, is my eye color gonna go back to brown? And she's like, well, even if it didn't, you would get like $20,000. She was like, no, well, I'd rather look like me than have $20,000. And the observer's like, bullshit, like I'd rather be black and like get paid $20,000, like fuck it and everything. And it's just like, what the fuck type of statement is that? Like, she's basically saying like, yeah, you know, it's cool, like, yeah, $20,000, but she's like, I'd rather be me than $20,000. And like the observer is basically like, yeah, you stupid, like whatever, like you'd rather have the money. And she's like, no, I'd rather be me than have the money. And it was just like, oh my god, like that book infuriated me, like it really did. There was just moments where it was just like, who says this is somebody? Like, who? the only reason I give it a 3 is because I got kind of confused around the end. Like, I feel like the beginning was cool, the middle was like okay, but I feel like the ending was slightly confusing, and I don't know if that was intentional for the author's perspective, but it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of confused of what was going on. So like, I don't feel like I gave a high rating because it's like, I don't really know what happened at the end. I'm like, I feel like I was just like a dummy because I'm just like, I don't understand exactly around the end what was going on. But yeah, the next one is John Mars The Minders. This was a 5. I love John Mars. I love this universe that he's creating. So there's the one, the passengers, and now the minders. They're all in the same world, and you don't have to read the rest of them to read the minders, but I feel like it technically works because there is a slight part of the minders that talks about the other books, like the one and the passengers, that if you don't read those, you'd be slightly confused what was going on. But basically, so the minders is a government experiment. So they're being hacked, the government, and the only way to prevent future hacks is they have to develop some type of program or something to prevent it. But while they're working on this prevention, they need to store their data, which is what they decide to do is store the data in these humans. They're like, hey, we need to store their data in these humans. Basically, give them all this information to help prevent them from being hacked. Like, they would kind of be, so they would go into kind of hiding and nobody would know who they are. And there's 5 people that get put into it. And like one of the people turns out to be kind of crazy. Another person doesn't know who they are. And another person slightly can't remember how to feel. And another person is just like kind of a fuck up. So you're following all these people to figure out what the hell is gonna go on with them. And John Mars does a really great job of like keeping you on your toes of like what's going on. Granted, I don't feel like this is a perfect book. I feel like, so out of the 3, so I feel like the 1 is the best. If I had to pick between all 3 of them, it's like, it's the 1, the passenger, and the minders. I do think that, but at the same time, I'm like, they are all very good, and I enjoy this kind of Black Mirror world that like John Myers is making, that I hope he keeps doing. Which, by the way, the 1 is on Netflix right now. I have yet to finish it, but I'm slightly upset because I can already tell that they're not going to keep up with what the actual show is about, which is slightly annoying because it's like the show with the book is perfect, that you would change the show, and it's just like, why are you going to change the show when the book was perfect? There's a reason that you're making this Netflix show, and it's because the book was perfect. Yet now you're deciding to change elements of it, and it's just like, why? You know, everybody that read the book wants the actual show, so why are you changing it? But of course, I'm not into TV, so who knows? So the last one is The Hole by Hyo Young Fun. I'm sure I'm saying this wrong. This is an Asian horror book, and I love this book. It was 5-star. This book makes me think of the audition a little bit. And the reason I think about that is because, so this book, one, is short. And it's basically, so a man, gets into a car crash with his wife. His wife dies. He's basically paralyzed. His mother-in-law takes care of him. And his mother-in-law is very supportive, like getting him better and everything. And something shifts. Like, this is why I'm saying the audition. We never find out what shift. Like, we have no idea, really. Like, we can come to a conclusion of, like, maybe what happened, but nobody in the book tells us what happened. But she starts to become neglectful. And like I said, we don't know why. She just does. And she starts to create a hole. And it's just, like, weird, because it's just, like, it ends in a way where you're just, like I said, you have an idea of, like, why, but it's never told exactly why. And it's just like, okay. And it ends in this ambiguous way of, like, okay, I don't really know how to feel about this. Even though I did love it. And I feel like the reason I loved it is because it really made me think of the audition. Because the audition ends in an ambiguous way of, like, you don't really get answers. And it's just like, okay, that was good. But it's just like, I wish somebody would have explained to me why this mother-in-law basically starts to portray her son-in-law. But anyways, it was really good. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Sunday and finish the rest of this show. Hope you have a good day. Either like, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this. Just